Good day, mate. Welcome to the island. Ahoy.
It sounds worse than the Simpsons Australian accent.
Oh no.
It's a very difficult time to be a comedian in this culture. We live in this culture where people are hypersensitive and addicted to outrage and in love with their own morality, trying to force feed their politically adolescent opinions down your throat. I'm just sick of it. You know, I'm trying to skirt the issue. That's gendered language. I'm trying to stay in my lane. The cyclists get shitty with me, you know. I'm walking on eggshells, then the vegans throw a shit fit, you know, like, just can't win. So I'm going to do what all the morally bankrupt comedians of the Melbourne establishment are doing. So I'm going to get on the cash grab, get on the grifts, and I'm going to write a children's book to educate them about trans issues. I'm going to call it Where's Willie? And I am working on a sequel called Postman Pat, but would you believe I'm having trouble finding a publisher in this climate? I hope unvaccinated sperm is the next big coin, because I'll be honest, I've got no super, and
Affirmative action is wrong. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, move.
Oh, shit.
glad I wasn't the only one on the beers hard last night.
We talked about, menstruation and menstrual huts and like crazy shit. And then he pulled poetry off of a random generated poetry thing. And I said, there's absolutely no chance this is going to be accepted. Dude, you've wasted my time. And it was accepted. Yeah, and then, of course, the dog park paper got an award.
Yeah, can you briefly tell us the dog park? Is it queer performativity in dog parks?
Yeah, so we basically argued that it was so crazy that this is actually the one that we got busted when we had many more papers under. We got 7 published, and we're probably going to get 12 or 13 published. But this was so crazy. But we claimed that there was a woman who did research in parks in Portland, Oregon, and she closely examined the genitals of 10,000 dogs and then interrogated their owners as to their sexual orientation and determined that we need to leash men like we leash dogs. And to justify that, she used black feminist criminology, which had literally nothing to do with anything, nothing. But the reason that I added that to the paper is that I knew that there were so many oppression variables there that there was no possible way anybody could criticize it because they'd be racist and misogynist. So I figured that was, thank you. So I figured that was perfect. But yeah, and so we came up with these just truly ghastly and utterly ridiculous. I mean, the numbers just didn't even add up, and they would beat the dogs who performed queer performativity, they'd do jumping jacks to get them to stop engaging in homosexual behaviors, things of that nature. So that was one. And I was the only one who had ever even been to a dog park, and we won an award for that.
Some of them said this is an amazing paper and cited
an invaluable contribution to the literature. That's when we said that when we tried to explain why men don't like large objects rammed up their asses. Because we said that it was because they're latently transphobic, which has literally nothing to do with anything putting in anybody's anus whatsoever.
Were you surprised?
No, I wasn't surprised. I was heartbroken, because I knew that the scholarship was so utterly corrupt, and I knew that so many people got their positions of tenure, which is a job for life, predicated upon writing to something that's morally fashionable. I realized that our institutions had lost their true north, their moral compass. I realized that entire veins and bodies of literature were corrupt, and I didn't know how this problem could be fixed. So you can think about it like this. You have the problem at multiple levels. You have the theoretical problem at the top. Then you have the institutional problem, specifically academic institutions in K through 12. And then you have the beliefs and how they manifest themselves. This street epistemology, looking at reasons and beliefs people have, you can see the woke reasons that people have for believing things. The grievance studies was an attack at the theoretical foundation of the ideology. The next step, which Reed and I are pursuing, I have a nonprofit National Progress Alliance, the next step is to expose the institutions and their ideological capture. They're already delegitimized, we need to push them further into delegitimacy. And at the same time, we need to build new institutions. Because I'm telling you, in no uncertain terms, the Chinese are not worried about equity. The Chinese are not worried about giving you a safe space or a trigger warning or a microaggression. So as Tom Friedman says, the world is flat. We're in a very competitive market. So if anybody wants to try to change the institutions, best of luck to you. I'm moving on. I'm done. I'm building new things. The number one thing you can do, and this is going to sound silly, is you can learn the meanings of words. You can learn what it is when people who are either in the orbit of the ideology or who traffic in the ideology, you can learn that. Reed, could you pull up the woke words? Oh. So one of the things I've done is I've made, I don't even know, 20, 30 words. They're just 60 seconds. This is what woke people mean when they use the word equity. This is what woke people mean. And this is not me. This comes from, I've read this stuff way too much. This comes from the literature. So Woke in Plain English is the name of the series. And we've put out many little series like this that people can go to and just learn the meanings of words. The other thing you can do is you just kind of educate yourself. So one technique that you see, the way that this invades the institution, the reason so many people have been hoodwinked by this is because it's a Mott and a Bailey. They'll say one word like equity, but they'll mean something else by it. They'll say one word like inclusion. And what you hear by inclusion is, oh, we want to include everybody. Well, of course you want to include everybody, but that's not what inclusion means. Inclusion, to create an inclusive environment, excuse me, is to create a welcoming environment. Excuse me, to create a welcoming environment, you have to make sure people aren't offended. To make sure people aren't offended, you have to restrict speech. Inclusion is restricted speech. But if you don't know that, you see inclusion. Well, of course I want to include people of different races or different ability statuses, someone in a wheelchair. Of course you want to include, but that's not what they mean. You saw it with the Parker Posey. You saw it a little bit. You got a glimpse of what's coming to you. You got a glimpse. That's the very, very, very beginning. But remember, they only have so many tools in the tool set. You're a racist, you're a Nazi, you're a bigot, you're a homophobe, you're a trans. There's only so many things people can call you. What's amazing is that those words still have staying power, no matter how many times they've been used. And as long as we have people who cower in the face of this, it will continue to spread and destroy people. So what is coming is crystal clear to me, because I've seen the trajectory that you're on as an American cultural export. The trajectory is not good, but it's not hopeless, and sooner or later it will burn itself out. Look, this is not a very sophisticated thing. It's very unsophisticated. And the people who are promoting this stuff, these are not really intelligent people. They're charlatans and ideologues. Few targeted questions, you can disrobe the whole thing. So the number one thing you can do is you can learn what people mean by words. The second thing you can do is you can speak up when you hear nonsense. You can speak up honestly and boldly, but make sure that you listen and do exactly what we did here. Listen and make sure you understand what someone said, and then ask them, simple question like, that's interesting. Is that falsifiable? What's the best way to test that? You saw Reed wrote that on the board. If we don't know how to test that, then what differentiates that? Well, you wouldn't say from a religion, but that's what I was thinking. If you don't know how to test that, then how do you know it's true? What differentiates that from an ideology?